Thanks for traveling with us today, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit.
All right, I want to sketch these droids. This looks like a safe spot to sit. So I can't go on most of the rides, but I can sketch. And right now I'm going to be sketching some of the droids for my my son's amusement. Popcorn in line for, are we in line for? Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
What?
Peter Pan?
Yeah, line for Peter Pan. With my gluten-free popcorn. This is a painting that I was excited to do and share because the London flyover scene in the Peter Pan, Disney specifically, Disney Peter Pan movie. Are there other Peter Pan movies? I actually don't know, but I grew up watching that film and just loving that scene so much, and loving that movie so much. I remember a few months before we got to visit London in person many years ago, I had a dream that I was probably I think we were flying in a plane over London, and it looked exactly like the Peter Pan scene. I asked my husband about it, or I told my husband about it, and I was like, hey, I had this really cool dream. It was so great. Now I'm really excited to go to London. And he told me, oh, well, actually that's pretty accurate. It pretty much does look like that. One of the things that I'm paying close attention to here is to keep the edge that I'm working on wet. If I let it dry, there'll be a hard line. So on the edges of the sky, these are sky and clouds here, so I'm painting the sky. Where the sky ends, there's going to be a hard edge. I'm trying not to paint too big of an area too fast, because if I do, then the chance of it drying out is a little bit higher. Where I'm working on right here, I want there to be a smooth gradient within the sky. And you can see by looking at the finished painting where I succeeded at this and where I didn't. It's an area I'm still working in. So I feel like the area here that I'm working on, I did a good job. But later you'll see that I decide, I want my scene to go a little bit higher. And so I add some sky. I add some blue for the sky, and there's a very harsh line where it's overlapping, and it really doesn't do anything for the painting or add to it. And so I don't really like how that looked, but I really love in the finished painting how I managed to have the sky be lighter closer to the tower and darker on the edges. If you're wondering, these are Daniel Smith watercolors. Daniel Smith is not good for layering, but I didn't know that. I like to work in layers a lot. I didn't know that when I first started painting. And so, I didn't know different watercolor brands had different properties, really, or I didn't know what those properties were, at least. So I bought a lot of Daniel Smith's, and now I mostly use them for plein air. I really wouldn't choose them to use in studio. Okay, so you can see here where I'm saying, my sky's gonna end here, where I first decided to end my sky. So Daniel Smith has a lot of fun granulating colors, and it can work really well if you don't intend to layer, which I'm not doing a tremendous amount of layering in this painting, and I wouldn't, because the paper of this sketchbook does not really lend itself well to layering. Usually when I try to layer in this sketchbook, the sizing that is in the paper, sizing is something like gelatin or a similar substance that creates a bit of a barrier so that the paint doesn't just go straight through the paper the way it would on printer paper or something like that. Printer paper doesn't have a binder in it. So you can see right here, I'm trying to extend the sky up. And I think it probably improves the composition, but it doesn't end up working out because it was already dry. And I knew it while I was doing it. I knew that it was already dry, but I was just hoping I was wrong and that the paint wasn't as dry as I thought it was. But you can see right there, like when I go into the corner that I've already painted, it picked up the paint. So I was telling you what happens to this paper if you try to layer. Yeah, something like that. The sizing will get picked up. The sizing will blend in with the paint, and you'll just end up getting something muddy. This paper isn't the worst. There was another sketchbook that I had where the paper would just start disintegrating, and it was really nice paper, but if you wanted to do more than 1 or 2 washes, it was just gonna fall apart. So I do like this sketchbook. It is tree paper, cellulose. It is not cotton. I prefer cotton paper. But I like this sketchbook because it's probably the best cellulose paper sketchbook I've found. Although I kind of like some of the sketchbooks. They're not exactly the same because they're not hardbound the way this one is. But I like some of the Winsor Newton cellulose sketchbooks as well. what you hear there in the background is my son practicing cello. I thought that my mic was on and it wasn't. And so the ambient noise was being recorded much louder than I thought that it was. I mean, I don't mind a little cello in the background, but it is a much louder than I intended. I'm going to leave it in because I know a lot of people out there who are artists and trying to create do so around the needs of others. In this case, it's my kids. Could be your animals. It could be a lot of things that you have responsibility for. It could be your own body, your own special health needs. And so I'm leaving in the background music because this is the time that I had to record. And I can record and have this video out, or I can wait for a perfect time to record with no ambient noise. And, well, that's never going to happen. But I could wait for a time where there's not a cello in the background and record. But I'd rather keep it real and honest that how my life really is. I mean, this is a vlog after all, right? I mean, right now we're doing a paint with me, but it is a vlog, and vlogs hopefully are at least sometimes pretty realistic. Like, I really went to Disneyland. I'm not lying to you. Like, I really did. Bought the tickets, got on the plane, made all the plans. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about what makes this scene so special to me. I mean, I think, do I really have to explain why the fairy tales we grow up with matter to us? But I mean, this one in particular just feels like so magical. I really love travel, and Europe is my favorite place to travel to right now because it's very different from where I live, but I can usually understand and communicate well enough that I can make sure that what I'm eating is what I think I'm eating. And this is important to me because I have so many food allergies and other dietary concerns. I'd love to travel many other places in the world, and maybe someday that'll happen for me. But right now, Europe feels safe. And so, I mean, I think the other reason why it's my favorite, or why London's my favorite, is just this scene from Peter Pan. Like, I think it played out in my head as a kid. I mean, I still have a soft spot in my heart for the sound of church bells. And I mean, what kid doesn't want to fly, right? I had a lot of flying dreams as a kid, and I'm sure many of them were inspired by works of art such as Aladdin and Peter Pan, and oh my gosh, what other movies, what other classic movies have characters that fly? I don't really know. I'd be really interested to find out if people who live in places where they're not being fed media about flying, like if those people still dream that they're flying. My husband actually showed me a few weeks ago this really cool map that shows you what people dream about most in what places. Like teeth falling out's one of those big dreams. Flying is another. I think death is an option. I don't really remember, but I'll link that below if for those of you who are interested, if you want to see what other people in other countries are dreaming about. But this American girl living in the US definitely dreamed about flying a lot, and I would love to dream about that tonight. Have some fun dreams. My dog has been sick, and my cat was sick 2 weeks ago. So a lot of my dreams have been about healthcare and panicking because both of these sicknesses resulted in ER visits for the dog and the cat. And I am scarred. So I would love a night of like really nice, fun dreams that involved getting sprinkled with fairy dust and like being able to take off and go somewhere magical in my nightgown because it's so warm and comfortable that I'm not gonna get too cold or run out of oxygen or anything. I guess fairy dust takes care of those things. So we can talk about the painting a little bit more. You can see here now where my choices of hoping that line wasn't dry yet. Yeah, it didn't work out. And right here I'm blending to give the clouds a little bit more depth. I would love to paint clouds well. My reference is a painting, not an actual photo or a real life cloud that I'm looking at. The reference has already given me some ideas on how I could make the cloud look more like a cloud. So some of my decisions are made for me, and that's really nice when you're learning, is to have some of the problem solving done for you so that you're not starting off at zero. However, I do think starting off at zero sometimes gives you a very unique way of solving the problem. So let's say I didn't have a cloud reference and I just go out and I say, oh, I see some clouds. I'm going to paint them. I'm going to do the best I can with the tools I have. And I just keep trying and trying and trying. I'm going to come up with my own solutions. And my ultimate solution might be really unique. Or I might just be reinventing the wheel and coming up with a solution that I could have gotten to a lot quicker if I had just done some master studies. So I'm just going to assume that the person who painted this mural that I'm painting from, it's the mural that's on the Peter Pan ride at Disneyland. I'm going to assume that this artist, knows what they're doing if they're experienced enough to get hired by probably Walt Disney, because this is one of the oldest rides in the park. So it's probably one of the first pieces of art created in the park. I'm just making stuff up here. I have no idea. So my goal for this painting was to create or recreate, I would say a childhood memory, but in reality, I just rode the Peter Pan ride a few weeks ago and it was fantastic. It made me very happy. So I would say this is also an adult memory, but we'll say childhood fantasy, childhood memory. I'm recreating that. The flying over the London part is for me like the most exciting bit of Peter Pan. The rest of the ride, I could take it or leave it. I mean, no, I like it. But the flying over London part is like the best part. I could have left it where it was. And I kind of wish I had worked a little bit more on the like buildings in the corner. But like seriously, I can just paint this again. Like I have more paper. I still have the reference. Not a problem. But it is in my sketchbook that I will be presenting to the world. And I've done what I've done. So in the corner, I'll be adding a boat. And it is the boat that you ride on. And I am really struggling with my like mini human figures. I don't know what to call it. I don't think it's called figure drawing, but it's like when you're drawing people in a bigger landscape or a urban landscape, something like that. I'm really not happy with how my people are turning out. So I feel like I took a decent painting and turned it into a not so great painting. And I didn't even film it. I think I just forgot to press record. It wasn't like I was trying to keep it from you guys or anything like that. Here's where I was at before I added in the ship. And one of the things that I thought turned out really well was that I was able to draw over the area, and it turned out really well. The paint was light enough in the areas that I chose, and I chose to leave one of the chimneys in front of the boat, and I thought it looked really cool. So I hope you enjoyed watching this real-time quick sketch, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.